we've been talking, if you've been here in the last 2 weeks, you know that we're sort of at a historic point in the history of our church. Next year is 100 years as a church congregation in Moose Jaw, and this year is basically 40 years since this church building was built by our church congregation. And so we've been talking about, is this a time for us to launch a new capital campaign to deal with some things that need doing around here, and also to advance the ministry of Hillcrest. So Kent Stackrock and I go back 30 years. It's been 30 years since we met each other, and we're about the same age then that our sons are now, and his son Nate and my son Javen are in Birmingham, England. Yesterday, they took 400 Bibles to the city square, and we're passing them out in Birmingham. So it sounds like they're having a lot of fun, and we're here just, being responsible. So they're having fun, but it's great. Maybe in 30 years, they'll be sitting up here and being responsible. That's great. But Kent is up here. He's been an elder in the church for many years, and he has also served in some very unique roles that make him perfect for this moment. He's been our facility manager for a number of years in the past. He's also been on previous building committees that we've had, and now he's the chair of our current building committee. But Kent, you're not there alone. Can you tell us a little, just the names of some of the other guys on the building committee, and just so we recognize who else is there?
Sure, yep. We have Greg Linus, Matt Buckley, Ron Delorier, Evan Moore, and Chris Drinnan, and myself. And these guys bring a variety of skills in commercial construction and heating and air conditioning, so I think it's going to be an excellent team.
So a little bit about the process, maybe, just to fill in. We have a pastoral staff team and in working with our elders, we've been talking about the ministry. How can the ministry advance here at Hillcrest? And so we've been talking like that, and then out of that, how can the ministry advance? There's, well, how does our building serve those ministry advancements? And then we have a building committee full of guys who know construction to help us put some of those ideas into tangible outcomes, right? They're the ones who can look after, how to build, how to renovate, how to repair this building so that it can suit us for the future. And in the future, there'll be another team added to that, and that's a design team, whether that's internal or external. We don't totally know that yet, but their job will be to make sure that anything we do looks good and has some, flow to it, and, the stuff designy people do. I don't know much about it myself, but they make things beautiful, so I like that. But I said in the last 2 weeks that this week we would talk about dollars and details, and that's what we want to present to you today, dollars and details of our capital campaign. And so I've got 4 different categories I'm going to present here, and then Kent's going to share some of the details from the building committee perspective. So the first part, I'm just entitling Going Public. We want to go public with what we have to offer to the city. Jesus said his followers were the light of the world, and like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. And no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light for everyone in the house. In the same way, we are to let our good deeds shine out for all to see so that everyone will praise our Heavenly Father. So, Kent, our visibility in 1983 was better than our visibility is today. In 1983, there were no trees obscuring the building, and there was a big steeple. And in 2022, there's no steeple, and there's big trees. So we've traded, and it's sort of made our building a little bit more obscure. I think we've got a picture. So you see the building on this side. That was our church when we had a tower or a steeple, right? Again, pointing towards God. That's what that architectural feature is for. And when you would stand on South Hill, you could see 2 steeples. St. Joe's has a great steeple, and it was sort of back. You could see the hill behind it. But this one, you could just see the sky behind it. And it was sort of like if you saw the cityscape from South Hill, this was the top of it all, was this steeple pointing towards God. But it had trouble, and it leaked, and eventually we had to make the heartbreaking decision to take it down. So it used to be you drive up the hill, I don't know why you drive up the hill, because there was no big box stores. Well, there was a roller skating rink up there. So you drive up the hill going roller skating, and you'd see this steeple. and it was pretty awesome. But now that's not there, and most people, how they see our church is this other view. They come back down the hill, and they see the side. It's sort of like the side and the back side of our building, and so that's what they see today. So Kent, I just tell us a little bit about how we could make our church more visible, to go public so people can see that we are here and that this place is full of life and ministry and good things for our community.
Sure. Yeah, I think we can look at a standalone sign out on the front right where you come in there. We'll have to check with the city on zoning and all of those kind of good things, but digital sign that we can do some of our advertising of our events coming up on the weekends. That sign would cost us about $150,000. Making that front corner, the northeast corner here, more visible with some signage and some lettering on the side of the building, and making that front entryway more attractive. Probably going to be in about the $100,000 range. So total for going public in that area would be about $250,000.
Wow, it's a lot of money. The reality is, though, that I think that almost everything you come up the hill to see has these features, right? They usually have a public sign somewhere, and they usually have signing on the building, and hopefully they've made it attractive, right? Whether it's a restaurant or a big box store or whatever, they have the same sort of things, and that is the costs for what those things cost. So that's the first part is going public, and we do want to be visible in our city. Here's the second part of it, and I've just entitled this Hospitable and Inviting Spaces for Others. We want our church to be a hospitable and inviting space for hosting and serving others. You know, it's Mother's Day, and I have a Burger King coupon in my back pocket. And if this day was for me, that would be just fine. Some of you are just like me, actually. Nothing needs to change. You're okay, right? I'm actually like that. We bought a house 3 years ago. Everything in it was 1977. Nothing had changed since 1977. I'm totally good with it. That was a good year. That was the year I was in kindergarten. I can live in that era forever. I think that was the happiest I ever was. Anyhow, so it's like, yeah, I don't need to change things, but here's the thing. Just like today's Mother's Day and my Burger King coupon probably won't get used because it's not about me, it's actually about my wife, and my wife likes nicer places. You know, a nicer place is like a place with cutlery, you know. But she likes the nice space. And you know what? I found out that she's not alone. There's lots and lots of people who like a nice space. They're drawn to a nice space. And so for me, nothing needs to change. But we're not designing and building for us. We're designing and building for people who are not yet with us. And we know that a nice space will make a big difference in how they experience coming here. So for those of you who are okay with 1983 plus 40 years of wear and tear, like I am, I think we have to just adjust our thinking a little bit about people who will be drawn to things that are inviting and look like there's been some intentionality in it. So this space, we host the community a lot. All the big funerals, all the big rentals, hundreds of grads go through this space every year. Every week we get to make first impressions with people. You might be here today, and this is your first impression. Sorry that we're doing a capital campaign thing on your first Sunday, but maybe it's, you know, you get to see a little bit of an inside look at our congregation and our church. But we want our church to be a hospitable and inviting space for others. For others. So I want to mention two spots where we really think we have a lot of traffic that come in at two spots, and we think these are great spots to really focus intentionally on it being inviting. So the first spot would be our foyer and our entryway. There's a couple easy things we can do in there. When I look around the foyer and the entryway, I see the glass doors leading into the prayer room, which is like everyone's favorite spot in the building. Like when a group wants to meet, they always want to move there because we made it attractive. We intentionally designed it. Does anyone remember the old prayer room? Anyone want to trade back? Yeah, it's good. God met us in that old prayer room. It was great. You know, that was the point of it. But it wasn't, you know, the most inviting space. And actually, it wasn't even a space people knew was in the building because it was sort of hidden. But this is better. Our boardroom there probably needs a similar facelift. It's a smaller space. It won't cost as much to do a facelift, but that could be a more inviting space. It used to be everyone's favorite, but now the prayer room has sort of stolen its thunder. So there's an obvious thing that we could do. But before I say the next thing I'm about to say, I want you to just do something with me. I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Are you calm? Because what I'm about to say might change that. I believe, no, it's not I believe, it's we believe that a very attractive welcome desk should be the focal point of our foyer. And in order to free up the focal point space to do that, we're going to have to say goodbye to our jungle gym, which is also sometimes called a fountain. Now, some of you might be feeling a lot of nostalgic feelings right now, and I feel them too. I've been here in the church 20 years. My kids, our oldest was a baby when we arrived, and our kids have climbed on that just like your kids have. Our kids have fallen off that just like your kids have. Some of our kids have even taken a bit of a swim in that fountain when it's had water. So it's sort of it's a big deal. But again, we're thinking about building spaces that are inviting for others. And we really think that that space should have a very attractive welcome desk. It's very clear that it is a welcome desk. And we want people who come in that instantly they understand where to go to get help, where to go to get assistance. And that there's friendly, smiling faces already there. And that it's just, it's very clearly marked that this is, welcome. I think there's lots of things that this says that we wanted to say. We wanted there to be a clear message. You are welcome here. We were expecting you to come. We've tried to make this space feel good for you. And welcome to your new church home. Or maybe you've never gone to church before. Welcome to, hopefully, a place that you will call home in the future. So I think we want to be able to say that with our foyer. And there's lots to be said about what we can do in that space. But it really extends beyond the interior, because part of our welcome is their first impressions outside. So you want to talk a little bit about some of the other things that sort of come along with making that space really welcoming.
Yeah, our front foyer, it needs a bit of work. Even when you come up from the south, our sidewalk on the south side there is all chipped and needs work, and our handicap spots are right there, so I think we really need to look after that, make that more inviting for people coming in. We've got, Steve talked about the fountain. The two pillars on either side of the fountain are actually, there's some large beams in there that are left over from the tower, so those are probably going to have to be removed at some cost. Our front canopy repair, we've got a bit of repair to do on it. We did some a few years ago, but it needs a bit more attention. So in that, we're talking carpet, carpet, roof, tiles, sprucing things up, making it more attractive. We're looking at about $100,000 budget to do the kind of the exterior sidewalk, front canopy foyer, the welcome experience.
Yeah, so that's that. And if you are still wincing about the fountain, please send your letters in to Kent Stackruck, care of the building committee. He's very gracious. All right. The other space I think that gets used an awful lot, and we'd love to see even better and more, again, under this banner of a comfortable and inviting space, is our kids' sign-in area. We think that that's a space that it already says some really good things, but we think it should say even more, that kids really matter here and families are important here. And we have a core value that we've held for many years and believe that is still very true and even more important going forward, and that's just a next generation focus, that we'll make sacrifices for the next generation. And we've been sacrificed for by the previous generation. So we have an example already in the ones who've gone before us and who built this amazing building for us. So it's easy for us to want to also do that for the next generation. So if you're here early on a Sunday morning, there's already a huge buzz in that hallway. In fact, after the service, there's another huge buzz in that hallway. And it's parents and kids, and there's all sorts of visiting that happens in that space. And we're asking, is there something we can do to make that work even better for families? We've had many families through the last number of years who I've heard their story where they said, we're just sort of looking for a church home, and we came here and we put our kids in the children's area, and at the end of the service, our kids told us they had found their church home. It's actually a pretty strong dynamic in our culture, whether you like that or not. You know, if you get Sports Illustrated for kids, there's ads for minivans in there. And it tells you a little bit of how our culture has shifted, that when parents are making decisions about things like this, they really do factor in what the kids say. So that's significant. Now, I'm not saying we're just going to, give them all the sugar they want so that they're going to want to be here. But I do think we should, it's something that's already strong in our church. Those of you who serve in our children's ministry, you do that with excellence. You do it very well. And people notice that. And I think it's a strength that we can add to. So we want that dynamic that's already working for us to work even more in the future. So this summer and fall, we're going to be looking for some professional designers to help us with revamping that space. But what we want is a family/kid entrance and experience that really pops, that really is attractive, and to maximize just the effectiveness of that area. But also we want it to say when people come in that, yeah, kids and families really matter here. But Ken, can you talk a little bit about some of the things that might be part of that space?
Sure. Actually, my wife is the children's pastor here, so I have a pretty detailed list in this area. So we're looking at a more modern check-in system for kids when they come in. The parents know that they're safe and that they are picked up at the end of the service properly. So in that area, in the children's area, we're going to need a revamping of walls and spaces in the kids' ministry area. We went from an 80s Sunday school model where we had very small classrooms with closed doors to more of an open session type thing now. We've also had Montessori and a Christian school in our building that has modified the spaces over time, so they kind of need a rework. So we're looking at about a $35,000 layout and design by a professional. A new kids entrance that Steve talked about was probably about $30,000, and then construction of new walls, paint, and those things about $30,000. Yep, sorry. And then production to make it children friendly. Some of the paintings on the walls or caricatures or things that we want to incorporate, decorations, probably going to be about $50,000. A check-in, a proper Wi-Fi check-in system that allows people to sign in a good way would be about $20,000, and then chairs, tables, and furnishings, maybe some AV equipment as well. So you're looking at about $35,000 in that area, totaling up about $200,000.
All right. I think there's a bit of an overlap between these first two areas, the going public and this, especially the kids' entrance and experience thing. So again, I think people should be able to, at a glance, see this church and go, oh, it's a church. There's life there. And it seems like it's a good church for families. I think those things should all be visible on the exterior, so that when you come in the interior, that's matched, right? You come in and you go, wow, like these, there's a message that's being said. Like I'm a parent with family, and I've thought that maybe I should be, offering church as a good thing in my kid's life. And you come in and you go, okay, they really aren't kidding. They actually care a lot about kids. And so I think we want that care to be evident on the exterior and also in the interior. Sound good? I got a woo. That's great. I just also say this, there's no specific part in the budget on this one, but I think we do want to make more and more of the spaces in our church multifunctional. We do have a ton of people using this building every week. And again, everyone wants the prayer room, but I think if we create more and more multifunctional spaces that are attractive, but that many groups can use, then I think there's the demand is there, and we want to make sure that lots of groups can use these space. So that's the hospitable, inviting spaces piece. And then this next one, we're just calling entrusted with a valuable ministry tool. I wish I had a different title, but that's really what it is. and it's about this building. We have been entrusted with it. There are those who sacrificed so that we could have it. It cost $1.2 million in 1983, and today we insure it for $10 million. So a great investment made by others, and we're so grateful for those of you who are in our congregation that have made that investment so that we could have this amazing facility in this amazing location. And but it's a responsibility, and we want to make sure that we do what's necessary so that the generation after us can also utilize this so that they can have ministries galore flowing out of this facility. So there's definitely maintenance that's necessary for a building of this size. And again, we want to be faithful with our part that we play in the, the baton passing from generation to generation. So Kent, you've been paying attention to this building for many years, but what in this season do you see some very specific areas that this building has need, where we need to shore things up or make sure that they're good going forward?
Yeah, sure. Stucco replacement on our upper sanctuary and the upper gymnasium and the valance that goes all the way around. And if you've noticed some of the stucco's falling off, we need to address that issue. What the product of choice, maybe acrylic stucco or tin, we're not sure yet on that. We'll have to talk with some people, but we're looking at about $100,000 cost there. Roof, as you know, we've had some leaking still, even though we put a new roof on in the last 10 years. We've got some water infiltration in some different areas. And part of that is with the stucco too. Our stucco is porous, so we're getting water going underneath the roof, even though the roof may not be leaking in areas. But roofing, we're gonna look for something about $200,000. We do some patching and then a spray-on coating to kind of top off the existing roof that we have.
You told me earlier that its potential for the spray-on coating is that it can add up to like 15 years of life to a roof. Is that?
Yeah, that's correct.
The number I heard. So I thought that's pretty exciting. That
looking into that.
Yeah, it's good.
And then we've got some foam jacking to do, which is kind of a new thing. But in the youth room, our floors have slumped fairly significantly. So we're looking at about a $50,000 room $50,000 to bring that floor back up to grade. And then we've got, I call this, it's kind of a grouping, but sidewalks, gutters, and grading all around the building. Our gutters are in tough shape, which is then happening that water's getting around the foundation, infiltrating the foundation, giving us more heaving. So we'll have to do some of that grading. Along with that will be a little bit of paving repairs along the way and electrical posts out on the north side of the building. And then we've included some window and door replacements at a budget of $50,000. And then heating zone and control repair and ducting. So that's for the 4 heating units that are to kind of do the outside ring of the church. We don't have good control over our heat. We have some warm rooms, some cold rooms, but that's about $100,000 cost to do that heating upgrade. So the total on that would be $550,000 in that area.
All right. And now the last area, which is renewing our gathering space. So this might become to a surprise to you, but we've never ever had a sound system designed for this space. We have cobbled together a sound system through the years, and Kurt was just running me through some of the ages of things recently, and I was surprised. Our soundboard is 20 years old, and I think we bought it refurbished. The PA system is 20 years old. Some of the amplifiers are 40 years old, so older than many of us in the room. Almost every part of our sound system was bought used or refurbished a long time ago. And it's really hard, maybe I should say impossible, for our sound technicians to even out the sound in this room with what we have. So we have lots of sort of hot spots. Like you might say, why is the sound so loud? Well, it might be only loud where you're sitting, and maybe 10 feet over there's a dead spot where it's like, well, why don't they turn it up, right? So we don't have even sound in this room. And our sound technicians work very hard to try to correct that, but they're working with just a cobbled together system. And so that we would really love to have a sound system that is designed for this space so that we have even sound throughout. We think this is going to really help older people and younger people. One of the things as you get a little bit older is you have to strain to get clarity on sound, and we really think that's unfortunate because that is difficult. And so we want to make sure that we have crisp, clear sound in this space so that everyone can understand and hear. And also that for our sound technicians, we want them to be able to have control of what's happening. And sometimes it's hard to do that with what we have right now. The other thing is we live in a new era. Our sound techs have gone from having to just mix sound for in here to now they're mixing for in here and online. So they're creating 2 mixes on a Sunday morning, and our soundboard is decent, but you know it was made in the era of when you got your first flip phone, right? And that's not matching up with what we're doing now. And so we want to give them all the advantages they can have to make sure that sound is good here and online, and without making it too hard on them. And so that's what we want. We want a sound system designed for our space going forward. Similarly, a lighting system for this space. The story is almost identical. Again, we have lights in here, but it wasn't maybe put together with the master plan that it probably should have had. And so we pieced together a lighting system. So we love our house lights and our stage lights integrated on one lighting board for whoever's doing lighting in the services. And so our tech crews, right now, they're doing a lot of multitasking, running from the lighting board to the actual wall switch and different things. We'd like it all to be together. Hey, our tech crews are awesome. Maybe we should recognize them at this moment. Just... Before COVID, this was a 2-person gig, and now it's a full team. And cameras and computers and lighting and sound, and they work so hard every week. And so we just so appreciate our technicians. But we want to do some things that will make things easier for them and that will produce better results for people who are watching online or even for us in-house. Then just 2 more things in this space. This gathering space, maybe I'll mention, I'll just go through them. The first one is new seating. Now you say, what's wrong? You feel comfortable? It's a pretty good bench that you're sitting on right now. And it is pretty good, but over the years, we've seen lots of things happen. There are tears that have been patched many times. There's stains that are pretty hard to ever get out. There's loose threads, and the wood on the end of many of these pews have come off, and we've reattached them many times. And you could say, well, wait, Kent, aren't these solid wood? We just need to reupholster them. So tell us about the wood quality of our pews.
Well, they have a lovely oak veneer, and underneath is chipboard. So they're not going to last 40 years. Just imagine IKEA furniture lasting 40 years. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah. So just like IKEA furniture, we'll just put it outside and someone will pick it up, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we've had 40 years of use of these, but the reality is we've really used our building. Like, we've used our building. We really use our building. We use the building. The community uses our building. Like, just thinking about all the different things that has used this gathering space. We've had rentals, lots of rentals, big rentals, grads, Good Friday service, big funerals, big weddings, our Voltage New Year's Eve party in conjunction with Joe's Place, school Christmas concerts. They all use this room. And our focus as a church has always been on, I think we learned this when times were a little more lean. We were like, it's about ministry, not the building. And that's absolutely been our mantra for many years. It's helped us to have joy when, a teenager puts a hole in the wall. And I've had so many times where I've seen just people from the church come and they patch the drywall, and I've had them say stuff like, Steve, I'm not planning to come to youth group to help out, but I can help out this way. You just keep ministering to kids, we'll keep fixing the holes in the drywall. There's just been a great mentality in our congregation this way. And we're not going to change that, right? Even if it gets fixed up, it's not going to become too good to use. It is just a tool. But the building enables ministry. We also live in Canada. The building keeps the snow away in the winter. So having a building is important to us. This building is an amazing gift that we have been given. And we use it. But we also let the community use it. And so it's no wonder that pews wear out over time. And it's no wonder that we need to replace things. And so we want to continue to use this space, but we do recognize that it's getting to be time for a new seating solution for this space. The other thing is flooring. So Kent, I'm looking down at this carpet that has some orange hues, and I can't remember when orange was last in, but is it true that this floor, I've been told this, you tell me if I'm right, is it true that this flooring, this carpet is actually original? It's 40 years old.
It is, yeah, it's 40 years old. It's actually done pretty well.
Not bad, yeah.
So it doesn't match the stuff that we've put out in the foyer either, and the stuff in the foyer is actually the seams are starting to come apart, and believe it or not, it's 15 years old already. Time really flies. So the hall and foyer carpets need to be replaced, as well as the sanctuary carpet. So we're looking at a cost of about $50,000 there. The sanctuary $50,000, but we've included the carpet for the foyer in the previous section. But that's kind of what we're looking at. So I'll just recap the costs on that. So the sound is about $100,000, lighting is about $100,000, seating is about $200,000, and the carpet is about $50,000 in this area.
And I think that carpet is including the hallways around, is right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's the 4 different areas we've talked about, and that's again, it's funny when you start making a project list. There's lots of things that you can make. I made a big list of things that are, if we have money or if we have a little left over. But these are what we think are the most important things to address at this time, and so. Kent, I guess we need, I don't know if we need a drum roll. It sort of seems like a strange thing to do, but we do need to just look at the total. So Kent, do you want to tell us what our total is?
Sure, yeah. The rentals add up to $1.5 million, is what I've quoted you here. And I actually asked my wife this morning, what should I wear? And she said, well, if you're going to ask for that kind of money, you better put on a collared shirt. So here we are. So we've included about a 15 to 16% contingency fund in that, in case when we're doing renos we find a problem mold or anything of those unknown features. You always watch the home shows and they go, oh no, there's mold, right? So with the 16% contingency fund, that brings us up to about $1.8 million to raise over the next 3 years.
So 1.8, that's a big number. Let me just tell you a little bit more about that number. So for 3 years, we've been in ongoing conversations with a fundraising consultant. So this is a former pastor who actually, he's helped many churches raise funds. Many churches on the prairies raise funds for their capital campaigns. And we've been asking that question, what's realistic, what's feasible? We're looking at a 3-year time horizon, so 2023, 2024, 2025. So again, we'd be looking for people to make pledges at the end of this year, and then what they could potentially give over 3 years, so that we have a realistic understanding of where we're at. And so anyhow, his feedback for us was that 1.8 million for a congregation this size is a very feasible number. That's realistic for us to look at, and to fundraise over 3 years. So I want to say a few things about the fundraising. We're not looking to put ourselves in any sort of debt trap to get ahead of ourselves, and we're not going to just start building things and saying, oh, well, the money will come in. We want to build as the money comes in. So when we want to have some projects that are shovel ready and to go, and as we hit certain milestones in fundraising, then we'll start those projects. But we don't want to be just jumping ahead with some big project and without the money being there. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves in that way. The other thing is, these are weeks of discernment. If you haven't been here for the last 2 weeks, I want to reiterate that the process goes like this. We've been spending some time talking about this. We're going to spend a few more weeks talking about this. Next week, we'll be presenting these numbers again, because there'll be people here next week that